If you have not read this book right here, you absolutely need to, and I'm going to talk about why. So, this book, Attack of the Clones, the novelization, absolutely incredible. I was really surprised by it. R.A. Salvatore did a fantastic job with this. First, without any spoilers, the pacing of the book is incredible. There is a depth added to everything that you see in the movie. You get all of the deleted scenes in the movie, which are really cool. And then in addition to that, you actually get brand new content that's neither in the deleted scenes or in the movie itself. R.A. Salvatore just going off of George Lucas's script and even adding to it, there are some fantastic things in this book. And I will just say, from the beginning, the prelude alone is worth your time. I'm actually going to link to a video in the description of our friend Matt Cave, who did a reading of the prelude, and it's horrifying and beautiful. And essentially it just details Anakin's nightmares about his mother, and you just get this horrendous picture of his mother and her face contorting and her turning to glass and shattering, and you really get a sense of why exactly he was so tortured and torn up about his mother, and why these nightmares really just kept pushing him further and further towards the dark side and towards the events that you actually read about later on. But one thing that is really fantastic about this book is I found, I suppose, I don't want to say a newfound respect. I like the characters of Shmi, Owen, and Klieg so much more. I really do, because while the movie does okay at portraying them, I think it's kind of lacking. They're very minor characters that are just, the focus isn't on them. I don't want to say they're just used as like a plot device, because that's absolutely not it. But in the novel, you actually go deeper into Shmi and Klieg's love for each other, and you really get to see this parallel at the beginning of Shmi waiting for Anakin and wanting family, and then like Padme and actually Sola talking about settling down. There's this really cool juxtaposition that sets up the conflict that Anakin is entering into, and then just also the pulling desires that he's really not supposed to have as a Jedi. I think it's fantastic. You know, what I found is one strong criticism of Attack of the Clones is the dialogue. People call it cheesy. People just call it all sorts of things that we've actually discussed here on this channel in a little bit more depth. But what I like about R.A. Salvatore is that he actually builds some context around these moments of dialogue that people really don't like. And not only that, in addition to building around it, with the deleted scenes on Naboo in particular, those scenes really don't bother me at all. Those lines of dialogue don't bother me. And there's a lot of discussion and self-awareness from Padme and Anakin that essentially they did not have normal childhoods. And there's even really wild things where, like, Anakin, for the first time in his life, is experiencing normalcy. And he's experiencing a joy that he had only had like these brief flashes of, that Shmi had created while they were enslaved on Tatooine. And so there's just really cool, I suppose, really cool moments where you can actually see the motives and the awkwardness of Anakin and Padme, and I think it comes through really well, and it adds a lot of depth. You know, if you think about Attack of the Clones like a nice steak, I would say the novel is like the butter and herbs placed on it. The movie is fantastic, and I think the book did a great job at just adding a depth that it was already there, but it's fleshed out a lot more. You know, the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin is interesting because they have this really intense scene, you know, at the beginning, like in the movie, and then they go their separate ways. And what I found is I think the movie's strength plays to the film noir Obi-Wan as a detective bent, where I would say the strength of the novel is more so on Anakin and his relationship with Padme, and then Obi-Wan and his detective skills. And you can even get into like Django and Boba, which is a really strong part of the book. Anakin and Padme really shine in the book, which I think is great. With Obi-Wan, what's interesting is there's this juxtaposition of Obi-Wan being one with the Force, flowing in kind of like a pure light side Force, and you can see that juxtaposed with Anakin being one with the Force, but because of the conflict that he has within him and the anger and the rage, you really see a really brutal dark side come out. In particular, you also get to read in really gruesome and graphic detail about Anakin's massacre of the Tusken village, and it's absolutely insane. It is, I mean, if you could see that in live action, it would be a rated R film. Absolutely. I won't spoil anything. You should read it. There is great depth, and there are some really crazy things that happen. Yeah, I'll just leave it spoiler free because I think everybody should read this book. You know, I mentioned Boba and Django and the relationship there. There is a very strange love that Django has for Boba. And it's strange that he is a good dad, but he's a bounty hunter and he's ruthless. And so to see how he interacts with Boba and to see his heart, what I'm finding at the core of this book is it's a lot about the love that the characters have between each other and their motivations. And so while there is a lot of politics in this as well, there's a lot of, sure, there's world building, but there's a lot of the emotion and motivation of the characters. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. One thing that's really cool is you hear Slave One over and over and over. And while you don't hear that name in live action, you get to read it over and over in the book. And for me, that was just like, you know, a cherry on top of the cake, so to speak, where I was just like, yes, like I love hearing that name, you know, especially with everything kind of going on right now. You know, I think some final thoughts for me regarding this book. When there are a few moments that are really exceptional. I wouldn't say this is like a great book. You know, I would say it is really, really good. The pacing's great. You know, you can keep plowing through it and it's exciting, especially if you like the movie. Even if you don't like the movie, I think it'll actually make you appreciate it more. But there are scenes like when Anakin is killing the Tuskens, you get more insight to Qui-Gon's voice and him becoming a Force ghost and how mysterious that was, and the fact that Anakin heard his voice. And there's just this really interesting juxtaposition of like Mace Windu and his reaction, and Yoda and his reaction, and Anakin and his reaction to Qui-Gon's voice calling out, and how Qui-Gon experienced that as a part of the living Force, being a Force ghost. It's just really interesting. There's this great interplay and dialogue and a comparison between everything that was going on. There's also a lot of contrast in this book, and it's really contrast that's found in the movie. You have contrast between Topoka City and Geonosis. You have contrast between Anakin and Padme, and Anakin and Shmi. You even have comparisons between Anakin and Obi-Wan. You just have a lot of these kind of like back and forth flashes where you're seeing the fork in the road. You're seeing the different decisions that are going to be made, and there is a bit of orchestration that you see taking place. You know, you have these bits and moments of Palpatine in there, and it's not as forward as it can be in other movies and books. But what's nice is you see this working in this interplay of things where you're like, man, we already know where this story's going, you know, chronologically, but it's like you can feel the ramping up, and I think it's done very, very well. You know, a fair criticism, the Petronaki arena scene is great, but I think live action does it better. The action in this book is written really well, but I think just it doesn't compare to seeing it in live action for me. You know, there's action I've read about that is really, really good, and it is immersive and it is world building, but compared to seeing it, you know, on the screen, it just doesn't come close for me. You know, Dooku obviously has a huge role in this as well, and the character of Dooku is great, although he's a bit of a mystery in this, and I think that just plays into the whole film noir detective aspect of this part of the story. And you know, the final scene is the marriage of Anakin and Padme and them kissing, and I think that just kind of speaks to what I said earlier, that it's really about Anakin and Padme. You know, in the book, it's not ignoring other aspects, but it just makes you appreciate their relationship even more. But you know, with this, I really do enjoy this book, and I think that you should read it. Even the paperback here, you know, it has these really cool like storyboards right in the middle of them, so you can actually like see some cool behind the scenes things. But I would like to know, if you've read this book, like, what do you think of it? What do you rate it? Let me know down in the comments below. Let's have a discussion about this. And if you're not already, you should hop into our Discord. We have great nerdy discussions about all things Star Wars. And I just want to thank you for watching this video, and may the Force be with you always. Huge special shout out to these awesome Patreons right here. If you want to join these awesome Patreon members, just follow the link down in the description below.